Hello and welcome to today's edition of Daf Yomi Bekhorot Daf 5 Omid B. So let's dive straight in. V'ha Masva Alba in Hayan Ela Shema Mina Mana Shakodesh Mana Kafur Haya. But each shekel consists of 4 dinars, and therefore 60 shekels is equivalent to 240 dinars, not a mana, which is generally worth 100 dinars. Rather learn from this verse a number of matters. First, learn that a manna of the sanctuary to which Ezekiel was referring was a manna that was double its standard value. Therefore, it was worth 50 shekels, which is equivalent to 200 dinars. And furthermore, as Ezekiel stated, that a manna will be 60 dinars, not 50. Shina Hamidas Bimei Yechezkel. In the ancient world, a talent was divided into 60 manna. In Canaan, a talent was divided into 3,000 shekels, while in Mesopotamia, it was divided into 3,600 shekels. In the time of Ezekiel, there was a change of 1/6 in the measure of weight, as Gemara here mentions. This change would seem to indicate that the Babylonian system of weights was being adopted at the time of the Jews' return to Eretz Yisrael before building the Second Temple, just as the Jews adopted the Babylonian written script. Hizivachim 62a, and the names of the months at that time. See Jerusalem Talmud Rosh Hashanah 1-2. Learn from it that community may increase measures. In other words, if the people of a city or region wish to change their measures of weight, volume, or currency, they may change them. Moreover, they do not need to be concerned that visiting merchants will be unaware of the change or will mislead others during their business dealings, as well as themselves. When the members of the community make the change, they may not increase the measures by more than 1/6. This statement appears in Tractate Bava Batra 98, citing Shmuel, and the Gemara therefore does not find a clear explanation for it. Therefore, Rav Chisda cites the verse in Ezekiel to teach that a tradition existed about the matter. That's Meiri on Bava Batra 90a. See also the Rashbam on Bava Batra 90b. Mesifin al Hamidas. A community may increase measures if the residents of a country wish to change the standard of their measures by or weights. They may not increase them by more than 1/6. For example, it's permitted for them to increase the measure of a cow from 5 units to 6, but no more. If they want to lower the standard of measures, they may do so without limitation. That's in the Rambam Sefer Nezikin, Hilch Geneva 8:17, Shulchan Aruch Mishpat, 31:15, and Smar there. They may not increase them by more than 1/6, and learn from it that the 1/6 is calculated from the outside. This is 1/6 of the final sum, which is 1/5 of the previous sum. Therefore, adding 1/5 of the original 50 shekels, which is 10 shekels, to the total equals 60 shekels. It's from this sum that the 1/6 from the outside, 10 shekels, is calculated. The Gemara returns to discussing the redemption of firstborn donkeys. Rabbi Chanina said, I asked Rabbi Eliezer in the great study hall, in what way are firstborn camels different from firstborn horses and camels, i.e. other non-kosher animals which are not redeemed? Rabbi Eliezer said to me, it is a Torah edict. So what's the footnote? Gezerus HaKosovhi is a Torah edict. This does not mean that it is a Torah edict without any understandable explanation whatsoever. As a reason for the edict is that the Egyptians who were killed by the plague of the firstborn are compared to donkeys. See Ezekiel 22:20. Therefore, the redemption of firstborn donkeys serves as a reminder of the plague of the firstborn. Rashi Rabbeinu Baye. The Gemara means that although generally a non-kosher animal does not have firstborn sanctity, it is a Torah edict that donkeys do have firstborn sanctity, so in the Marashah. And furthermore, donkeys assist the Jewish people at the time of the exodus from Egypt, as there was not one member of the Jewish people that did not have 90 Nubian donkeys with him. What's that? Chamom Luvim, and Nubian donkeys. In ancient times, there was a clear distinction between different breeds of donkeys. The Nubian donkey appears to be native to northern Africa, and is referred to elsewhere as the Libyan donkey. This type of donkey was well known in ancient times for its superior capabilities in performing labor, and there's a picture of the Nubian donkeys, if you have the Steinschatz Gemara on page 29, which were considered to be of superior quality, laden with gold and silver of the Egyptians. Rabbi Chanina continues, and furthermore, I also asked Rabbi Eliezer, what is the meaning of the term of feedim? In the verse, then came Amalek and fought with Israel and feedim, in Exodus 17:8, and he said to me that Feedim was its name, i.e. of the location. The Gemara comments that this answer is like one side of a dispute between Tanaim. Rabbi Eliezer says that his actual name was Ephraim. Rabbi Yeshua says this monkey is an allusion to the fact that the Jewish people became lax with regard to the statement of the Torah and Ephraim, and so it says, the fathers look not back at their children because of feebleness, rifyon of hands, Jeremiah 47:3. So what does that mean? Lo hifnu avos elbonim may rifyon yadayim. The fathers look not back at to their children because of feebleness of hands. The Maharsha notes that the straightforward meaning of this verse is not at all about the Jewish people, but about the prophecies concerning the destruction of the Philistines. It decided here as a biblical precedent for the expression of feebleness of hands, and serves as a proof that the name of freedom can be interpreted homiletically as an abbreviation for this expression. See also the sources referred to in the Masoret Hashas. And a donkey that gave birth to a house of swords, V'choma sheyalda, kimin sus. The same law applies if a donkey gave birth to a cow of swords, but the Gemara explains in the next Omer that the Mishnah discusses the case of a horse due to a novelty. Although a horse does somewhat resemble a donkey, it is still not considered to be the same species, and the animal born does not have a firstborn status. According to the Rosh, Piskei Rosh and Tosfot Rosh cited in Shita Mechubeses. However, the correct text of the Mishnah should read, and a donkey that gave birth to a cow of swords. The Rosh explains that the reason the standard text is different is that it was confused with the text of the Brisa cited in the Gemara. Oh, I missed a bit. What did I do there? Oh, I shouldn't have read that note anyway. And furthermore, I also asked him the following question. What is the meaning of Tim Shittim in the verse? And the Israelites dwelled in Shittim, Numbers 25:1. And he said to me that Shittim was his name. The Gemara comments that this answers like one side of a dispute between the Tanaim. Rabbi Eliezer says Shittim is the actual name of the place. And Rabbi Yeshua says this monkey is an allusion to the fact that they were engaged in matters of nonsense. Shitut, i.e. prostitution, either words between Numbers chapter 25. The same Tanaim also dispute the meaning of another verse discussing that incident. With regard to the verse, and they called Vetik Rena, the people to the offerings of their gods, Numbers 25:2. Rabbi Eliezer says naked women encountered them, which is how they were convinced to engage in idol worship. Rabbi Yeshua says that they all became those who experienced similar missions, Kurayin, resulting from the lust they experienced. A cow that gave birth to a donkey of sorts. I've already read that footnote, but there's another footnote here. Para sheyalda min chamor. Various factors during the period of pregnancy could cause a change in the appearance of the offspring. Some are genetic and others may be related to physical occurrences, such as wounds inflicted on the mother during the pregnancy. In addition, some factors may be chemical in nature, resulting from certain foods or other substances entering the bloodstream of the mother. As a result of these factors, offspring may be born with unusual characteristics that range from radically changed appearance, unlike that of any other creature, to a minor physical abnormality. Even among the lesser defects, some are less significant than others, such as those that cause a change in the size or shape of a portion of the body. In other instances, these differences may cause the offspring to look more like that of a different species, such as a lamb that gives birth to an animal whose ears, hair, and tail look more like those of a goat than a lamb. Many of the blemishes mentioned in the tractate are included in the latter category of defects. And a donkey that gave birth to a horse of sorts. If a cow gave birth to a donkey of sorts, or a donkey gave birth to a horse of sorts, the offspring are exempt from being counted at firstborn, and according to the ruling on the mission of Ram Sefer Zerayim, Hilchah Bekhorot 12:18. Exempted from the offspring being counted a firstborn, as it is stated, and every firstborn of a donkey you shall redeem with a lamb, Exodus 13:13, and the firstborn of a donkey you shall redeem with a lamb, Exodus 34:20. The Torah states this halacha twice, indicating one is not obligated unless both the birth mother is a donkey and the animal born is a donkey. So what is halachic status of offspring that are unlike the mother animal with regard to their consumption? If a non-kosher animal gave birth to a kosher animal of sorts, even if it has all the characteristics of a kosher animal, its consumption is forbidden. In the case of a kosher animal that gave birth to a non-kosher animal of sorts, the last is permitted even if it possesses all the characteristics of a non-kosher animal. Rambam Sefer Kedusha, Yochad Machos Asur at 145, Shulchan Aruch Yoredeya 79.2. In the case of a kosher animal that gave birth to a non-kosher animal of sorts, its consumption is permitted, and in the case of a non-kosher animal that gave birth to a kosher animal of sorts, its consumption is prohibited. This is because that which emerges from the non-kosher animal is non-kosher, and that which emerges from the kosher animal is kosher. With regard to the issue of a kosher animal that gave birth to a donkey of sorts, as the first one says, the Gemara comment, we learned in the Mishnah there in 16b, a ewe that gave birth to a goat of sorts, if an ewe give birth to a goat of sorts, or a goat give birth to an ewe of sorts, the offspring is not counted as firstborn. If the firstborn had some of the characteristics of its mother, it is considered a firstborn animal with a blemish, in accordance with the Mishnah on 16b, and we stay in Rabbi Yochanan on 3b. Rambam Sefer Gabon is Hilchot Bekhorot 2.6 Shulchan Aruch Yoredeya 15.6. And a girl that gave birth to a ewe of sorts are exempt from the mitzvah of the firstborn. And if the offspring has some of the characteristics of its mother, it is obligated, i.e. subject to the obligation of firstborn status. The Gemara asks, from where are these matters derived? Rav Yehuda says they are derived from a verse, as the verse states with regard to a firstborn kosher animal, but the firstborn of an ox, or the firstborn of a lamb, or the firstborn of a goat, you shall not redeem, they are holy. In Numbers 18:17, the word firstborn seems superfluous in this verse, as it is clear from the context that it is referring to a firstborn. Therefore, the phrase the firstborn of an ox is interpreted as teaching that it must be an ox, and its firstborn must be an ox, in order for the firstborn status to apply. Likewise, the phrase the firstborn of a lamb teaches that it must be a lamb, and its firstborn a lamb, and not another animal. Similarly, the phrase the firstborn of a goat teaches that it must be a goat, and its firstborn a goat. One might have thought that even if the offspring had some of the characteristics of the mother, it should still be exempt, as it does not entirely resemble the mother. Therefore, the verse states, but, indicating that the Talmud makes a distinction with regard to this principle, in that it does not apply when the offspring has some of the characteristics of the mother, and the offspring therefore does have firstborn status. The Gemara asks, but doesn't the Tana of the Mishnah here cite the verses firstborn from Exodus 13:13, 34:20 with regard to the case of a cow that gave birth to a donkey of sorts, as teaching that the offspring has no firstborn status? Why then does Rav Yehuda resort to interpreting a different verse? The Gemara answers that this interpretation was not suggested originally by Rav Yehuda. Rather, he says it in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Yossi Haglili. As it is taught in Rabbi Yossi Haglili says the phrase, but the firstborn of an ox indicates that the firstborn does not have firstborn status, that the offspring does not have firstborn status unless it is an ox, and its firstborn is an ox. The phrase the firstborn of a lamb indicates that the offspring does not have firstborn status unless it is a lamb, and its firstborn is a lamb. Likewise, the phrase, or the firstborn of a goat, indicates that the offspring does not have firstborn status unless it is a goat, and its firstborn is a goat. One might have thought that even if the offspring had some of the characteristics of the mother, this principle that it must be entirely like the mother applies, but it does not have firstborn status. Therefore, the verse states, but, indicating that the Torah makes a distinction with regard to this principle, in that it does not apply when the offspring has some of the characteristics of the mother, and the offspring therefore does have firstborn status. The Gemara asks, with regard to what matter do the Tana of the Mishnah and Rabbi Yossi Haglili disagree, and therefore derive this halacha from different verses? The Gemara answers, the Tana of our Mishnah holds that the merciful one revealed in the Torah that a firstborn donkey, which is subject to sanctity, that inheres in its value, in that a lamb is given to the priest to redeem it, does not have firstborn status unless it resembles its mother. And the same is true with regard to a kosher firstborn animal, which has inherent sanctity and is sacrificed on the altar. And Rabbi Yossi Haglili holds that the merciful one revealed that a kosher firstborn animal, which is subject to inherent sanctity, does not have firstborn status unless it resembles its mother. And the same is true with regard to a donkey, which has sanctity that inherits in its value. And he derived the halacha of sanctity that inherits in its value from the halacha of inherent sanctity. So what's the footnote? Gama kedushas damim, b'kedushas haguf. Rabbeinu Gershom Mohagola explains that according to the Tana of the Mishnah, the halacha of a firstborn kosher animal is derived by a fortiori inference from the halacha of the redemption of the firstborn donkey as follows. If an animal that possesses sanctity that only that only inherits in its value is not sanctified unless it is the same species as its mother, and certainly an animal with inherent sanctity which has more stringent halachot is not sanctified unless it resembles the mother. By contrast, the case of an animal with sanctity that inherits its value cannot be derived from the case of an animal with inherent sanctity, as the latter is more stringent. Rabbi Yosef Glili, who derives the halacha from the phrase for the firstborn of an ox, the halacha of a firstborn ox can be used as a paradigm to teach the general definition of the category of firstborn animal, even though the specific halachot will be different in each case. This is what the Gemara means when it says that he derives, i.e., through a paradigm, the halacha of sanctity that inherits its value from the halacha of inherent sanctity. The Gemara asks, and as for the Tana of our Mishnah, what does he do with his repetition of the word firstborn? Firstborn employed both with regard to an ox and with regard to a lamb and goat, from which Rabbi Yosef Glili derives his halacha. The Gemara answers, he requires it to teach the halacha of burning the sacrificial portions of the animal on the altar, which is mentioned in the verse, and you shall make their fat burn in Numbers 18:17, according to the interpretation of Rabbi Yossi, son of Rabbi Chanina. As Rabbi Yossi, son of Rabbi Chanina says, why were sacrificial portions stated with regard to a firstborn ox, and sacrificial portions are mentioned again with regard to a firstborn lamb, and sacrificial portions are mentioned again with regard to a firstborn goat? It is necessary, as had the merciful one written the halacha of burning the sacrificial portions on the altar only with regard to a firstborn ox. One might have said, only an ox's sacrificial portions are burned, as an ox offering has more wine libations than a lamb or a goat. Therefore, perhaps the additional obligation of burning the sacrificial portions apply only to an ox. Likewise, if this halacha had been written only with regard to a lamb, one might have thought only a lamb's portion are burned, as it has more sacrificial portions than other animals because its tail is also included. Likewise, if it had been written only with regard to a goat, one might have thought the burning of the portions applies only in that case, as it has an increased applicability with regard to the case of an individual guilt of idol worship, who brings a goat as a sin offering, unlike one who commits other sins unwittingly, for which a lamb may be brought. The Gemara challenges the halacha with regard to one of these cases, i.e. an ox, lamb, or goat offering, evidently cannot be derived from one of the others. Why not derive one of them from the other two? The Gemara responds, with regard to which case shall the Torah not write this halacha? If the merciful one shall not write it with regard to an ox, and one should derive it from these other cases, that derivation is not valid. What is notable about these offerings, i.e. a lamb and a goat, they are notable in that they have increased applicability with regard to the paschal offering, for which a lamb or a goat is suitable but not an ox. If the merciful one should not write this halacha with regard to a lamb, and one should derive it from either of these cases of an ox and a goat, that derivation is not valid either. What is notable about these offerings, i.e. an ox and a goat? They are notable in that they have an increased applicability with regard to a case where the entire Jewish community is guilty of unwitting idol worship. As in such a case, a community brings an ox as a burnt offering and a goat as a sin offering, see Numbers 15:24, but not a lamb. If the merciful one shall not write the obligation to burn the sacrificial portion with regard to a goat, and one should derive it from these cases of an ox and a lamb, that derivation is not valid either. What is notable about these offerings, namely an ox and a lamb? They're notable in that they have an element of increase with regard to the altar, as the libations for an ox are larger than those for a goat, and also the tail of a lamb, but not that of a goat, is a sacrificial portion. The Gemara concludes, therefore, all three cases are necessary. The Gemara asks, and how does Rabbi Yossi Glili interpret this verse as teaching that a firstborn must remember its mother in order to have firstborn status? Isn't the verse necessary to teach the halacha of burning the sacrificial portion upon the altar? The Gemara answers, if it is so that the verse teaches only that halacha, let the verse write, but a firstborn ox, lamb, or goat. Why do I need the word firstborn to be repeated with regard to a lamb, and the word firstborn repeated again with regard to a goat? Rather, isn't it correct to conclude from here that the mother is not subject to having its offspring counted as the firstborn unless it remembers its mother? E.g., the mother is an ox and its firstborn is a goat. The Gemara asks, And as for Rabbi Yoshua Glili, what does he do with this phrase, firstborn of a donkey? Firstborn of a donkey mentioned twice in Exodus, from which the Tana of the Mishnah derived that the offspring must resemble its mother in order to have firstborn status. The Gemara answers that he requires that phrase for that which is taught in a Braita. Rabbi Yoshua Glili says that since it is stated, yet you shall redeem the firstborn of man, and the firstborn of non-kosher animals you shall redeem, Numbers 18:15, I would derive that even firstborn horses and camels. So what's a footnote? Pitrei susim ugmalim. The halacha of redeeming a firstborn non-kosher animal applies only to a donkey, and according to the ruling of the Braita, on the Sefer Zerayim, Hilchah Bekhorot 12:3, Shulchan Aruch Yodeh 321:1. Must be redeemed, as they too are non-kosher animals. Therefore, the verse states, firstborn of a donkey, which indicates, I said to you, that firstborn status applies to a firstborn donkey, but not to firstborn horses or camels. And still, I can say the phrase firstborn of a donkey merely indicates that firstborn donkeys alone are redeemed by means of a lamb, or firstborn horses and camels are redeemed by means of any other item. That's the end of the Omen. Thank you for listening, and I wish you a good day. All the best. Bye.